Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. Hope everybody's doing well. So for tonight's show, I have a gentleman who I'd see him in the chats now and again, but I got to know him really well as part of the Buffalo Rock City charity CD that he was involved with, and ever since then, kind of hit it off. He's just a really good guy, a freaking incredible guitar player. And so I thought, you know what, I really want to dig a little bit deeper into his guitar playing and how he got so damn good. So without further ado, I want to welcome Gene Schmidt to the show. Hey, Gene, how are you, man?
Hey, how you doing, Hack?
Too bad, not too bad. So
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for the nice intro.
no problem. We've been talking here for the last hour. So. But anyway, let me say a quick hello to the folks. You got 13 in here right now. Rebel Rockers with us. Rebel, thank you so much for being here. Paul Lou, nice to see you. Paul Lou, I'm jealous of all your gigging, just so you know. Nelson Rodriguez is here. There's my buddy Dave from Arizona. How are you?
Dave.
Mr. Pete Cycleworks. There's a new name. Welcome to the channel. Please consider subscribing. That'd be awesome. Michael Sin, another new name. Please consider subscribing. That would be awesome. Lars Guitars is with us. Cushman, New York City. Nice to see you. Cecil Music. Josh Stern. Dwight Bailey. Dan in New Jersey. Daniel Horsley. Lars Guitars. Half Ace. Alan Robinson. Carp Dog. Beautiful. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Well, the numbers are climbing. We're up to 22 already. So welcome, everybody, to the show. Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Wednesday. So, so you know how these usually go, Gene. I like to do things sort of, historically. So let's start at the beginning. So, what was the, I guess, what was the factor that maybe got you interested in music or interested in guitar right away? What was that first, the spark for you?
That was imposed on me at the age of 6 by the old man.
Oh, cool.
I'm very fortunate that I had, my father is a player, and he used to sit around the house playing Beatles tunes and made sure that I was in formal guitar lessons at age 6. And that's where it started. I started with a little Oscar classical guitar, and I took lessons for about 4 years and insisted on the summers off because I didn't have to go to school. I don't want guitar lessons either. And then from there, kind of just fizzled and sat under my bed until I probably rediscovered it at around age 14, 12 or 13. I have to equate it to junior high.
Right.
And that was it by influence of friends I was making who, my friend Bob Rush and my friend John Lasik got me into music in junior high. I mean, when I say that, it was more like Yes, Rush, Van Halen, and things like that. So
did the stuff that you remembered when you were a kid, did it come back, or was it like almost started over?
Yeah, it was those Mel Bay books, you know.
Oh, okay.
Learn it was one string at a time, you know.
Yeah.
And then some of the Beatles songs that my father used to teach me, and Stairway to Heaven, and I can't even remember some of the other ditties, Green Sleeves, things like that.
Yeah. Cool. So when you in your teens, I mean, by the sounds of it, the type of stuff you wanted to play in your buddies, I guess that's electric guitar time at that point, right?
Yeah.
What was your first decent, let's call it, because everybody starts off with the shitty electric, but what was your first decent electric?
Man, it's a can of worms. But so my father gave me his. He had a hollow body Hofner, which is a
Okay.
lot like an ES 335. And I
Right.
think it was like an old converted like 12 string. It was a gorgeous guitar. And I was using that for lessons, and I had that under the bed. Now, by the time I hit that teenage years, that was gone because our house got robbed, and
Oh
that was
shit.
they went into my room, went under my bed, took this guitar and bolted. And we never saw it again. And then my
Terrible.
parents replaced it with an SG copy. So it was pretty much an SG with one pickup, I think.
P90. You remember?
Something like that. I mean, we're talking. This was, I think, an $80 guitar back in the
Oh,
late.
okay.
Yeah, and that's what I played for a long time.
All right. So,
And
what was the first good one that you got?
it's and that's it. Again, it was a cheaper guitar, but you ever hear that brand Mako? They
No.
made Les Paul copies that were just as good as those Ibanez lawsuit Les Pauls. You know,
Oh, okay. Those I know. I've played
so
them.
yeah, so it was Mako. You can still find them on eBay and everything. It was a gorgeous, like standard Les Paul to trapezoid inlays and the flame top. And I had that for a long time with him. My best friend is I'm still really really good friends with this guy Brad Horan. This was in the teenage where you gravitate towards other musicians and you're jamming together and learning from each other. I actually all those guys I mentioned. This guy John Lazik was over. Brad Horan. I don't think Bob was there, but I remember going to take a piss and I come back and these guys are standing, and my parents are gone. They're standing in my living room, and their faces are just all white. And I go and I pick up that guitar, and the neck is cracked.
Oh
And
shit.
my buddy had it over his shoulder, and then the strap came loose, and it came down in the headstock, and
Oh,
it just became a wall hanger from there. And I actually went without a guitar for a long time, and I was borrowing a guitar from somebody. So
yeah.
yeah,
No luck with guitars, man. We'll get
no,
stolen, broken
no.
stock.
Luckily, my parents were really supportive. I wound up with a BC Rich NJ series, I think, after that.
All right.
And from there, they got slightly better as it went.
So, who were your guys? Like when you went back to it, was there like a specific band or a guitar player that you're like, man, I want to play his licks. I want to be able to play that stuff.
Well, my father's influence, I was listening to the Animals and the Beatles.
Right.
The first lead I ever learned, it was by ear, was I'm Mad from the Animals. Real simple pentatonic lead. I don't know what the pentatonic was, but I picked it up by ear.
Mm-hmm.
And then my neighbors had given us Kiss Alive 2. So that was the only other like kind of influence I had till my friends got me into AC/DC, which was huge. I mean, my friend John was like AC/DC was like he's still like he has a shrine to Bon Scott every year on the anniversary of his death, And
Oh yeah.
so I learned from those guys that Rush was real big, and then Van Halen. Van Halen. Every time I heard like a bend note, I thought I got to get a whammy bar because I didn't know the difference between bending a note and I figured everything was the whammy bar, and I thought everything that was fast was a pedal. I got to get myself a pedal to get that sound when we're ripping.
A magic pedal. Don't we all wish that existed, man? This will
No,
make me play faster. Yeah.
yeah, no YouTube to figure that stuff out back then.
No, no. But I mean, where did the chops come from, man? Because you've got insane chops.
I
You must have
appreciate.
done a shit ton of wood shedding, man.
Uh, I the guitar player. Well, for friends, as I learned, you meet other guys and you see other guys in the music store and you get really motivated to go back and practice. But one of the things I learned theory from one guitar player magazine. Remember, they used to come with those floppy records all the time.
Oh yeah,
There
remember
was a
that?
Frank Gimbali record in one of these, and on the
Right.
cover it said speed playing or something like that. And he broke down theory, and there was a bunch of little samples of him just noodling over different backgrounds, and a bunch of charts. And I learned the scales from there, and it started to make sense because they're just patterns. And then and I'm gonna not come up with the actual video name, the correct one, but maybe these guys in the chat will help me out. But it was Paul Gilbert put out like a speed picking video.
Right.
Yes, the 3-note per string pattern that like he handed over how to shred to so many kids, you know, and so many guitarists. So I learned a lot from there. And then the tab for Black Star, Yngwie Malmsteen's Black Star, because I was listening to it and I'm like, what the hell did I just hear? And it was the arpeggio. It was so fast and so clean, and I just followed along the tab with it. And then I learned how to do arpeggios from there. So that, and just, you know, playing with other players. A buddy of mine was lucky enough to play in a band with, just as I was moving out of my house, this guy, Art Kalenda. I learned a lot from him, and he shows up a lot of time on here. Yeah, and learning how to overlay the blues over top of a lot of that stuff too.
Hey, Randy Crooks is in here. Hey, Randy, how are you, man? Nice to see you. And Buffalo Rock City has joined us. Mitch Heyman has joined us. CK is with us. Ray Kefner. Thanks, everybody, for popping in. Glad to have you.
Carlos Cavazo. Oh, I saw that video, DR Guitars. Yeah, that was one of the Music Mart that we used to go to, the music store, always had those videos going.
Was it Starlinks?
Yeah. I saw it. I don't know if it was the Paul Gilbert was under Starlix or not, but probably.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. Yeah, that's you must have spent freaking hours just sitting there woodshedding, trying to pick up speed and all that. Because I mean, the reason, you know, I that stuff blows me away is because I can't do any of that stuff. Like, you know, that super fast alternate picking thing. Like, I for the life of me, I can't do it. When I was younger, and I was a lot faster then than I am now. I mean, I used to cheat like crazy. I mean, everything was legato for me because I could never. This hand, the picking hand, was nowhere near as fast as the note hand. So for me, it was like I'd hit one note and you know, hit one string and play like three notes.
Yeah. But there's an art to that too. There are guys out there, these fusion guys on YouTube, that they do that legato so well, and there's a science to it. It's Alan Holdsworth style legato, which almost sounds like a saxophone. It's funny because like whatever comes natural. I've only recently kind of given into this. I've always tried to push myself. Oh, I'm gonna learn how to solo like these jazz guys, you know, outside, you know, scales and all this weird stuff. Or I'm gonna learn chicken picking, which I can't do. I've tried so many times. There's slide guitar, and I saw this interview with this guy Andy James. He's one of the hot shots on YouTube, and I love listening to him play. And guys were asking him questions just like this. He goes, you know what? He goes, if you're good at something, work at that, right? Yeah. Instead of trying to constantly go out of your comfort zone, maybe you can really take your comfort zone and make it into something, you know, really just hone what comes natural. So things like legato and stuff, it's not really cheating. It's a technique.
Yeah. Yeah.
Troy Grady. Yeah. That guy's crazy. You ever watch his videos?
Troy Grady. No.
The guy must have a degree in animation or something. I mean, they're so involved. He has cartoon animation, and he gets into the scientific angle of the pick slant. And
oh, wait a minute, I know that guy. Yeah,
right. Everybody's seen those videos. If you're
showing you like the angle of the pick and this and that. This, yeah. That's that's a little too. I don't know.
He brings these guys in. He puts a camera right on the fretboard.
Yeah, Yeah, that shit's crazy. So tell me about the bands. When did the band start?
Man. So, musical family on my father's side. One of my cousins on my father's side, played drums, and we used to get dropped off at his house, and my aunt and uncle used to be in a band together. So there was like Fender amps there and guitars.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, I was really fortunate to grow up the way I did. We used to sit there and try to play Beatles songs. And I remember my cousin had a friend of theirs over, and he played bass, and he started playing Crazy Train. And I'd never heard Crazy Train. and I was like, I gotta get that record, and I gotta learn that, So I got that and it was, I would be lucky if I could do that once or twice a year, go over there and fight around with my cousins. And then right around that time in early high school, there was this local guy in the neighborhood, this guy Dave Drass, and he was friends with my friend Brad. And he says, "Hey, Brad," because me and Brad play guitar all the time. He goes, "There's these two guys, across town, the Shaughnessy brothers, John and Pat. They play drums and bass, and you guys can come over and play guitar." And then our friend John, that I talked about from junior high, all the same guys. We had our first band at the Shaughnessy house, and we used to play a lot of Talus, because they're local heroes. Like
yeah, that's Billy Sheehan, right?
Right. So we used to play "Sink Your Teeth Into That" like on a loop and play Aerosmith tunes and stuff. So that's where it really started. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I'm still friends with those guys now. They're all playing in bands. The guy John, the bass player, he's a professional bass player. It's all he does. That's
so, folks. I should have mentioned this earlier. I'm streaming to both YouTube and Facebook. So, if anyone has questions as we go through this, throw a bunch of question marks in front of the question. Or if you just want me to see your comment, throw a bunch of question marks in front of it. That being said, Buffalo Rock City's asking, were you in the Wild Boys?
Yeah, that's why I'm snickering over here.
Oh, okay. All right.
We all played in the band with a local guy who was in the Wild Boys. You ever heard of them?
No.
They had some good stuff going on, but it was at the tail end of the glam rock era.
Oh, they missed the boat, eh?
Yeah, I mean they really had a great album put out, and they toured with Aerosmith, and I don't know what happened with them, but yeah, he's just poking the bear. I'm sure that's what's going on. Yeah, I'm from Buffalo, CK.
Yeah, Western New York. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, I did a couple of shows with yourself and Philip Schaus and actually Randy Crook that was in here earlier, and Jeremy Asburn. All these guys were involved in a CD called Buffalo Rock City, and Gene played on that. And what was that? Was it Into the Fire?
Yeah.
Enough. That's the song you played on, right?
Yeah, I've had enough. Into the Fire, Back on the Streets, and While the City Sleeps with Mitch Wiseman. I play guitar and all three.
Yeah. And I remember when I first heard that, and I mean, I was blown away, because that was a Mark St. John solo, and I mean, that guy's a beast. But you absolutely crushed it. I'm like,
thanks. It was a lot of fun. I get a kick out of trying to emulate stuff, whether it's the tones and all the techniques.
You do. You do nail it, man. I mean, I'm on your channel. I've seen you do some Ingve stuff that it's insane. You can play that because I'm looking at that stuff, and that's like Chinese arithmetic. Watching that, I'm like, how the hell does the guy pull that off, man? I tell you, man. Or the Van Halen stuff that I've seen you do is like, holy shit. That was fun when you and Phil were both on, and you guys were like, "How do you play that? I play it like this. How do you play it? I play it like this. I can't do that. I can't do this."
It's still the hardest stuff to copy in my mind. Ingve is very regimented. It's like these scale patterns, and once you get in that fluidity, it's there. But man, Eddie will throw you for a loop on every other tune, and rhythmically, it's just insane. That's why we're like, oh, how do you play it? And not being able to play half of it is par for the course.
Well, the funny part about that show that I remembered too is I'm asking you guys, so what scales is Eddie playing? He's not playing scales, man. He's just
it is yeah. Some of it they sound like video game,
Yeah.
On a loop,
Dickie Mo 75. Hi, Gene. It's your pal Rich.
Oh yeah, Rich Lane. Now here's another guy. We were talking about Legato,
right,
a little bit ago, and when how I know Rich is funny because I was doing a website for the Autism Society of Western New York, And
Right.
a friend of mine said, I know somebody who can host it. And this guy, Rich Lane. And then Rich Lane wound up being my boss at my last job for a while. And we hit it off right away. First day I got to meet him, he's, you're that guitar dude? I'm like, I don't know, maybe I guess. And he goes, yeah, I play too. And he's like, I'm into this jazz fusion stuff. And that guy rips. This
Yeah.
Rich. And we were talking about the legato stuff, and he would, I mean, just the fact that he could figure out this technique these guys were doing. He'd sit in the office. Our whole office is filled with electric guitars and
Oh,
basses.
that's so cool, man.
It's I think it's the tech industry. You know, I know the first interview I went on to be a software engineer.
Right.
One guy says, "Oh, you play any musical instruments?" And I looked at him kind of like this. I'm like, "Who have you been talking to?" He goes, "Well, I don't know. This Microsoft CEO said that musicians make great computer programmers because they have an understanding of abstract language." I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
I am a musician.
Well, it proved to be true. Like, you know, a lot of really talented guys were just in the office I was in my last company.
That's funny, man. Because there's
Wow.
this other YouTuber I know who's also a software engineer and he plays guitar. So yeah, maybe there's some truth to that. That's awesome.
That's what my father did too, by the way. So he retired as a software engineer. So
Oh wow,
yeah.
that's very cool. That's very cool. So with your bands, like, were you like just a local bar band guy, or did you get a little more like get to the point where you put out some CDs, maybe did a little touring?
Uh,
How did that all work out?
so when I was in senior year of high school, I had a lot of different bands kind of just bouncing between different opportunities. I met these guys, this guy, Pete Robinson, he's a singer. And I idolized him. I still do. He's a great guy. It was around that Poison era and the major glam stuff. And I just dyed my hair black. And I met him before that, and then I bumped into him at some amusement park. He goes, dude, your hair's so glam. We got to jam. We put together this band and started writing music and recorded a couple songs. And at 18 years old, with a couple $100 a piece, moved to LA, you know, with no clue to try to and our buddy Brad went with us too, that I mentioned before. So we got to stand outside the Roxy and the Whiskey and listen to bands play because we couldn't afford to go in, and ran out of money in a couple weeks, honestly. And so that was a big eye opener. And I had actually just started dating my wife like a week before. I was like, and I knew I was going to marry her. I was like, it just wasn't for me to be on tour and do those type of things. Granted, I can make all excuses in the world. It doesn't mean I would have been on tour and made it big. It doesn't mean shit. But I was back probably in a few weeks, and I think Pete stayed down a couple months, and he came back, and he'd gone back and forth. But as far as like the touring and making it, it's like this is all around the time where all the music that meant so much to me as a kid, all that hair metal and everything, started to fizzle away because Nirvana came in and that grunge stuff. And you, when you're a kid, you think there's only one kind of music. You don't realize what fads and phases are because you're living, you know, the one and only thing that means anything at that point. And once it started to go away, I was actually kind of bittered. And right around that time, I had gotten that offer from the guys from Diver Down to play. He had a band called The Mob, and I had a band that opened for him one time, and he remembered me and called me up and said, you want to do this thing? And I was like, fuck, this singer's amazing. It meant the world to me to have that opportunity to play in a band with that guy. And we'd started rehearsing, and one of the songs that was on the list was Van Halen on Fire. And he liked the way I played it, and everybody was really into Van Halen. He came down to another rehearsal and said, guys, we're going to do a Van Halen tribute band. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. I don't know, man, a tribute band? I got to be Eddie? You know, and we're going to pawn shops trying to find parts to build an Eddie guitar, and that's how it took off. You know, I played so many of those bar band gigs where you're playing in front of 15, 20 people. You're begging your friends to come out. And then at the end of the night, they're like, we can't really afford to pay you. You really didn't bring anybody here,
Oh shit!
Yeah, yeah, a little. Oh, that was like a pretty typical story. But like once I got in that band with Rob Neubauer is the singer, and Carl Sedella was the drummer, and he's still is the drummer. He comes up from Vegas once a year, and we do gigs. But back then, the first show we did, where we had put together a big back line and everything, and had a gig scheduled at Blind Melons, was one of the bigger clubs, the biggest club around then. And it had, curtains and a, dressing room, the whole deal.
Wow.
We're there waiting to go on, and we're behind curtains. And I remember peeking out and going, holy shit, there's fucking people out there. Never. And it's because a tribute band, people know what they're going to get. You want to draw people, have a tribute band. I just remember turning around to the drummer going, holy shit, there's people out there. And that was really it. Music never really got too much deeper than doing those tribute gigs, but they were a lot of fun.
See, that's crazy. I'm hearing myself echoing now. But anyway, it's crazy because with the tribute bands here, they're a big deal, right? You know what I mean? Like when bars want to have built-in audiences, they bring in a tribute band. So they'll bring in like a Bon Jovi or an Aerosmith or a Van Halen or a Rush or whatever, and they know people are going to show up. Like they're and then bands like mine that are just run-of-the-mill cover bands, play whatever, just a toss-up of stuff. We're like second tier. It's a if they, it's so much so that if a tribute band like there's a Rush one, we've has called a place and say we want to come and play, they cancel our gigs immediately. Like, okay, yeah, you guys are, because they know they have them in, and they're gonna have and they pay them a shit ton more.
Yeah,
because they're gonna have a good house, right? Because they just draw. So it's weird to hear you say, I'm in this Van Halen tribute band, and I mean, I know. I mean, I've seen some video. You guys were fantastic. I'm like, it's amazing that you guys cannot draw a crowd. I guess it's a whole different thing, maybe.
Oh, yeah, no, those bands that weren't drawing a crowd weren't the tribute bands. Those were the bands beforehand where they're asking you to leave early and stuff. I tend to jump around a lot when I'm talking. The tribute band, most all the time, we had a really good draw, unless for some reason the club didn't lift their end of the weight of advertising.
Oh, okay.
You play in the Boondocks, you got to advertise, and they would be kind of like, whoa, it was your responsibility. No, it was yours. And they show up and then you're leaving. But that was a pretty good draw. We played some really nice shows. Not all of them were fantastic. Most of them were a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of pressure doing Eddie too, because you have every guy standing out in front of you like this. Yeah. Just waiting for the mistakes, just coming up to you afterwards going, an Ice Cream Man, he picks that. He doesn't tap it like you did it. Like, you were totally wrong, dude. Go back to the drawing board. I had plenty of that.
Yeah, you gotta have a second skin for that shit. I remember doing a gig, and I had a guy. He's 3 feet in front of me the whole show.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Right? And then we went on break, right? And I'm like asking, like, does anybody know this guy? And the singer goes, "Oh yeah, he's a guitar player." I'm like, "Oh, really? You think?" Yeah. I know him. He's just guitar player. I go, "Is he any good?" Because he's staring me down. Like it's like, anyway.
Yeah. It seems to happen a lot.
You can't. The best thing you can do is block them out the best you can. Just.
I used to let that stuff bother me. Now I'm on YouTube watching, 9-year-old girls blow my doors off like every day. Now I'm numb to it and don't care. Back then you didn't have that, but.
Yeah. So what were you using for the Diver Down days? What did you put together finally a Frankenstein or a Bumblebee or one of Eddie's?
So we kind of built the 1984 Kramer hockey stick type of guitar.
Okay.
an old Kramer body that had two humbuckers, and we wood filled the one and sanded it down, and then we bought a warmouth neck, and it wasn't quite right, and we even drilled out for the Floyd Rose neck because we forgot to order it like that, but almost destroyed it. Yeah, that was, I only had one of those guitars at the time, and that's what I used. And then when the band parted ways, there was just a point where everybody was busy with other things, and we just parted ways. The singer and I had equal money into the Eddie guitar, so we sold it on eBay, split the cash, and used the money to buy other guitars. And then I'd start getting calls, hey, we're going to put the band back together. We're going to do one gig. And so, like, you're scrambling to build a guitar. I got a wall of scrambling to build Eddie guitars. Like this, I had a whole different body, and I was going to build the Steve Vai Green Meanie. And when I wound up building this, going, the white one's easy because I can just use a Strat body and just get the pickguard. Mm-hmm. So I slammed this together and never built my green guitar. And then I built this one in a hot hurry too.
Oh, it looks nice, man.
Trying to copy one of those Stripe Series ones.
Mm-hmm.
The neck's, it's a no-name neck that I got. It's Canadian neck, came from Canada, but I mean, it's okay. But I actually went and I ordered the actual EVH branded one 2 months ago, more than 2 months ago. I'm waiting for it to come in. And then my plans are to sand this down and make it the Bumblebee, so I have the three.
Right.
But I'd like to do the Frankenstein one. They make's amazing. I see a lot of the guys that have that, and they love it. I would totally like to own one of those, but I'm too cheap to spend $1,800 on it.
Yeah. No interest in like the later ones, like the PV / Ernie Ball /
Oh, those are great. I am interested in those. As a matter of fact, my brother's friends with Steve Blaze from Lillian Axe, as he's his best friend, and he's endorsed by PV. And last year, my brother goes, hey, Steve's going to PV, and he's doing an interview there, and they're going to let us pick through their stock.
Oh,
and
wow.
He sent me a PV Wolfgang body that was sitting there. So that's a summer project too. I'm going to paint that and tune that to standard for like jump and everything. Maybe do a special paint job. There's this guy, it's out on all the Facebook groups, this guy, Craig Stoffgo, and he does these paint jobs that they're all Eddie based, most of them. Mm-hmm. He's an amazing painter. But I'm very motivated to try to emulate what he's doing. I'll never do it as well, but definitely want to make something like that. So, but then you got to get the neck. I told my brother, I was like, if you're going to be there, grab me one of those necks. And he's like, they want like $350 for this neck.
Wow.
And then Cheap Gene kicks in and try to find a different source. Hopefully it's nothing I'll hate.
Well, so is it safe to say then Eddie's like your main guy?
Yeah, for sure. He'll always be number one. Yeah. There's too much amazing music that he left us, man. It's for sure, definitely. And I don't want to get choked up. But just like, all those years, if it weren't for Eddie, I would have never been in a tribute band, had all that fun. Probably wouldn't be here. I know I wouldn't be here right now doing this. Yeah, it's just definitely Eddie, number one. And then my top five probably is a rotation of guys. I like that Warren DeMartini from Rat a lot. And that's why I like the Charbels. It's funny, my buddy Michael Senior was messaging me beforehand asking me about why do you like the Charbels? I'm like, it's definitely Warren DeMartini, George Lynch, guy from I got the George Lynch guitar too, the cheap one. I was gonna spring for the expensive one. This was one of those impulse buys, man. This thing was on Craigslist like the week I bought it, like I wanted it gone, and then I realized I wasn't getting my money back. I wound up learning to love it, but yeah. So Warren DeMartini, Eddie Van Halen, Warren DeMartini, George Lynch, and Jake E. Lee. I named my kids after Ozzy guitar players. Jake and Zach.
Jake and Zach, that's cool.
Yeah, and Zach's middle name is Randall for Randy Rhodes.
Randy Rhodes.
I want 3 kids. Like, I'll just take care of it like they're one fall swoop.
That's cool, man. That's cool. That's cool. So I'm a big Les Paul guy, I guess. No Les Pauls for you?
Uh,
Or come close? There you
back to
go.
back to cheap Gene. It's Chinese.
Gibson?
Yeah. Let's see. Made in USA. It says anyway. Sure. When I got this, and I had so that there's the big regret. You know, the ones that got away. A friend of mine, this guy Kevin Blakita, who's in Kiss This. He he hooked me up with a guy at a pawn shop that I bought a Gibson Les Paul Custom, a '78,
Oh,
$350. $350 I spent on that thing. It was a second, but it was a second because it was kind of beat up. I mean, you know, people pay a lot of money for beat up guitars. They pay more for a well-up guitar.
yeah. That's Murphy Lab, man. That's like $6,000.
Right, right. So I had that for a long time, and there was a point where I went and got a Carvin catalog, and I was looking through that, and it was mostly because I wanted like these Charvels, you know, style guitars like this. And I didn't know that, and I think it was before they made the Pro Mod Charvels. I picked something out from Carvin that was kind of like that, but I had to sell my Gibson Les Paul to finance it. So I sold that thing to a guy in Germany for like $1,500. And I even swapped out. I had EMGs put in it. The original pickups were long gone, and those were those highly regarded, you know, so and so. I don't know who it was, the guy that touched those pickups in the factory in '78. But
Yeah, well, Dave DR Guitars is in here. He'll be able to tell you. I was gonna say T-tops, but I don't know. Those are T-tops in '78. He would know.
yeah, it's either way. You know, I was trying to get appraisals to see how much I could get for the thing. So
T-tops in '78. There you go.
Here you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was told, man. And back when I had that guitar, that was 94, 93 was when I got it. And it was just like, I need Zakk Wylde's pickup configuration. So I went and got the singer from the Van Halen tribute band. He gave me a EMG 81 put in there, and then I went and bought the 85 for the neck. And where those original pickups fizzled away to, I don't know. But long gone. And then the Carvin that I, you know, had to have, that's long gone too. I sold that.
Oh shit! So that's the one that got away, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So these days, I see that you put out an original a couple weeks ago. But what are you doing now musically? I mean, I guess you can't be playing in bars now because of the COVID situation. But are you actively in a band somehow, or are you just on your own, kind of focusing on doing original material? Where are you at nowadays?
So that's a whole another story there at the end of the Diver Down era and all stuff. I was actually going through school and I actually took a hiatus. But throughout the Diver Down thing, my brother-in-law, so it's my wife's sister's husband, he was always there, super supportive. And he's like he's still my best friend now. But back then he used to go, you know, I play drums. I'm like, I'm sure you do. And, you know, years go by, and I finally have a chance to jam with him, and holy fuck, this guy is like Neil Peart Jr.
He does play drums.
He's amazing, right? So, so for many, probably about 2005, 2004, I think we started actually playing together, seriously having a band where, you know, it's like, hey, the wife and kids they all go to their cousin's house and play, and we go boop down the basement and start jamming. So we've had this band Skyway for a long time, and it's my cousin plays synthesizer on it, and you know, he was brought in later on. Was like, oh, we're doing "Burning for You" from Blue Oyster Cult. It sure could use a few keyboard, you know, notes in it. Right. Next thing you know, we're playing Foreplay, Long Time from Boston. My cousin like figures all this shit out. So I went from a little toy keyboard to having the Hammond organ, and then, you know, a couple synths. And so everything we did, like we would make sure has synthesizer. And so needless to say, that is what I've been grabbing onto for many, many, many years. Like, I've had offers to play with other people. I don't have a lot of interest in playing in bars or being gone on weekends or just being tired on weekends.
Right.
It's this ideal situation as this family band. And I've been waiting out. I'm waiting for my brother-in-law to kind of retire. He's a pilot and he's always gone, and his schedule's really tough to kind of home. But so that has always been there. And there's some, if you look at the very first videos on my YouTube channel, there's a whole show with my brother-in-law playing drums, cousin playing keys, and really awesome local singer guy. This guy, Tom Bender, singing, and guy that playing bass. We've been together from the very start. And he's a good friend, Chris White, and he's an amazing bass player. So I'm super lucky to have this built-in band to go to.
Man, you always.
Oh, I have a horseshoe up my ass for sure. That's the way I look at it. And I filled in. I fill in for other bands right now. I never commit. Like, I've done some gigs with this band, Dad 80s Hair Band. It's a lot of fun. It's the singer from the Diver Down. He has another band that does that. Right. Once in a while, I get a chance to fill in for them. I played with a band, Double Shot, at the end of last year. My neighbors were throwing some graduation party. And they're like, "Oh, we're having a band. You got to see these guys. They're great." And they were odd. They played country, rap, Van Halen, Metallica. It's like,
wow,
totally geared to play like weddings and stuff. Do the whole gamut.
Mm-hmm.
And my neighbor coaxed them into letting me come up and play a little guitar with them. I just played like Poison song or something. And then a couple months later, I get our guitar player's leaving. You want to do some gigs. And I want to, shirt, tie, doing weddings with these guys, filled in a couple, and they're so fun. They're really great musicians. But I told them from the start, I'm like, I'm not committing to anything. I don't want my weekends gone. And, I got this other band with my family and stuff, but I'll fill in. And they want to find an awesome replacement, But so once in a while, just dabbling, filling in, helping people out. And doing this Buffalo Rock City all last year, there was a lot of time that went into that. It's a lot of engineering and yeah, it was fun. But that's what I've been keeping myself busy with, and then been real motivated by some of my friends putting out instrumentals. Mm-hmm. They gave me a lot of advice on recording. It's software to buy, drum software and stuff. So I put together 3 instrumentals that are on my YouTube channel. You can categorize them as Yngwie ripoff things, but they're just fun to do.
While I'm thinking of it, so folks, one of the reasons why I wanted to have Gene on is because he's modest to talk, but he's phenomenal, and his music and his videos and his playing is off the hook. I have his link below, so you do yourself a favor, sub to Gene's channel and check out his stuff and comment on it, whatever. And that's kind of why I wanted Gene on the show, because just want to make more people aware of this guy who's in our community. You see him in the chats and here and there, and here's this hidden gem. So check him out, in the links below, and give Gene a subscription. Mitch Heyman, Guitar Hack, did Gene ever teach? Guitar? Teach guitar, Mitch? I think he means teaching guitar.
Yeah, I did. For a little while. It was one of those, that was one of my first jobs at a local music store. I taught at a couple different music stores. It was one of those things where it's like, the kids get grounded, or, they're paper route and they're not showing up, and you're showing up in a tie. I did it for a while. I think right nowadays, YouTube is the best teacher you can have. But that was probably in the 90s, the little teaching.
So Buffalo Rock City is saying he hears Gene's going to be starring in a music video.
Yeah. I wonder who Buffalo Rock City is. Yeah, so I one of the last videos I put out there was of this guitar.
I saw that one. Yeah. The Vinny.
So John Jeffrey and I, and John's the guy, he's the mastermind behind Buffalo Rock City. We pooled our money together and we built this guitar for a video that we're going to do for Back on the Streets for Buffalo Rock City. just to promote the CD and vinyl. It is available on vinyl right now if anybody's interested. Bandcamp, buffalorockcity.bandcamp.com. It's in the releases. But yeah. And my wife actually sewed up this Vinnie Vincent jacket.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for our Vinnie Vincent. And she's got some other things to sew, and that's kind of the holdup. We're renting out a theater. Yeah, we're going to go all out. I got to iron that now. Yeah.
So Buffalo Rock City, is that John? Is that John?
It's John or Kevin, but it's probably John.
John or Kevin?
Yeah,
Buffalo Rock City, are you John or Kevin? Because if you're John, I got something to ask you. Yes, John is an amazing guitar player.
Thank you, CK. I appreciate all the nice comments. Really do.
Oh, it is John. Buffalo Rock City's John. John, I got an idea for a show at the end of the month. I'll message you later. So, Gina and I were talking about that before we started. Cool. Vinnie Vincent did not save Kiss, CK.
Somehow I remember seeing that remark from him before.
Yeah, well, that's. I don't want to turn this into a Kiss show because there will be more Kiss shows coming. Hint, hint. But I don't want to into a Kiss show. But there will be more of those coming up. Man. Hearing you like, oh, my brother-in-law plays and this guy plays and my buddies play. I'm thinking to myself, man, I've had to struggle to find other people who can play my whole life. It's like, and then the other problem is, and I mean, all the people that that play, they're all good. My issue is if I find someone that can play, they can't. They're worse than I am, right? Man, I've always had such a hard time finding bands. Like I got the one band. There's a band I'm in called Rebel Charm, where like the drummer is the guy I was talking about, Mike, who's been on my show a couple times. Hands down, best drummer I've ever played with. And then my buddy John, who's a phenomenal bass player. He can play bass and guitar better than me. And I have for me now, I'm the shitty guy trying to get up to their level, right? So that's very cool. That's very challenging. But most of the time it's like, oh yeah, we play. And then you get there and it's like, oh man.
Yeah, there's
such a hard time finding people, man.
There's a lot of talent in this area. Crazy.
Yeah, man. Must be in the water or something. I don't know, man. I mean, up here in Toronto, when anybody talks about Buffalo in Toronto, like especially if you grew up in the 70s, it's sort of it was like a running joke. It's like every headline, Eyewitness News with Irv Weinstein. Does that ring a bell?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Eyewitness News.
Know where your children are.
Yeah, I know where your children are. Every newscast was like, tonight, arson in Tonawanda. It's like it was like arson every.
That's why I grew up, Tonawanda. Yeah.
It's like Cheektowaga arson. It's like arson, and every headline was arson, and we're like, what the hell? And then I remember one time I was crossing the border and driving through Buffalo, and it's like, no wonder it's arson. All the houses are made of wood because here everything is made of brick, right? So anyway.
Yeah, notice that.
Just an aside there, but that was a running joke.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, you get a lot of talented people there. That's fantastic. Poor
Rush, Triumph, Honeymoon Suite. I mean, I know Tragically Hip. And that's the other thing. It's like on top of all the brother-in-laws and talent around me, it's like my another brother-in-law is the lead singer in Strictly Hip, the Tragically Hip tribute band.
Right.
They're by far the biggest band around here. Like, they're a big deal.
So the Hip made an impact in there, because the Hip, like in Canada, they're huge, but there's a lot of places in the U.S. that never heard of Tragically Hip.
Yeah. Well, Strictly Hip has gone to even playing in Vegas. Some shows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and there is it's so funny. It's such a small community. The drummer from Diver Down was in a Tragically Hip tribute band in Vegas as well. So and he does a Kiss tribute down there. And he played in and I'm not going to know the name of the band, but he played with Oz Fox from Striper. Like,
Okay.
yeah. But, well, and so I totally went off on a tangent. But
No,
yeah,
no.
Vegas has it's like, they're all transports there.
Yeah,
So they're going to there's like a whole, Western New York community there, Sabres fans and the Tragically Hip's big.
I read out. I mean, and just from that, it's like all the guys you're mentioning that I played with. I mean, these are all like really good musicians. It's not like, I mean, they're able to play all over and Vegas and you know
Yeah.
turn professional and whatever. So it's all top tier guys, which is in one area. That just blows my friggin' mind, man.
Yeah, it's there's just like I said, so many locally. When the bands were playing at bars, you were going to see some good talent.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
that's not the case here, man. It's like, I mean, you see guys like my bands like mine. I mean,
Well, your band
it
sounds great. You guys are probably the top tier then.
well, we're better than some, but I mean, anywhere else we'd be like a laughing stock. It's just, I'm being very honest, but it's the truth. But
Modest.
no, no, I'm being honest, not modest. But so what? Anything? Okay, now you swore me to secrecy, so I guess I can't really say. Maybe you can't say a lot, but there. What have you got coming up on your channel or musically that you're allowed to talk?
Well, John and I are working on stuff. John Jeffrey, and it remains this. When I say us, a lot of people. So we're putting another project together. It's been in the works. We'll definitely put more out about it when the time comes. Um, I'm dying to get back to noodling around here. I have, you guys are all I see in this, but in this direction, I have my synthesizer here, all this recording equipment, and just, time on my hands that I didn't have, 10, 15 years ago to sit and write music. There's that. And I have like a whole list of songs to do. That I have a Spotify playlist of songs I want to try to do for YouTube. I like doing those. I don't know if those who haven't seen it, when I do the videos, if you look at my older ones, they're like real grainy, and I play everything live and I leave my mistakes in. And I got a better computer, better software, learned a little bit more about video production, lighting, and now I record myself doing multi-track stuff and pan them in, and it's fun to make. It's a whole project, so I'm always trying to find it always starts with a good backing track, and
Yeah,
they're out. There's a lot of them where they wipe the guitar clean. The Triumph one I did for Lay It on the Line with the double neck guitar, which I borrowed from my brother-in-law for that show or for that video. The quality of that backing track was mine to ruin. So that's kind of what it is. I learn a lot about engineering. So that's why I spend a lot of my time. I've learned a lot doing the Buffalo Rock City and doing these videos. I mean, I'm not a fan of putting this part out there,
yeah. Tell me
but
about it.
but composing the stuff, engineering it, making the videos.
We got a
Yeah.
couple of questions for you. Randy Crooks is asking, "Hey Hack, what is Gene's dream guitar?"
Uh, this one, man.
Charvel.
Yeah, yeah. I have four. One is a mutt that I made with the same neck. This is really dirty. You can see it from there. I love this guitar, man. And these things were real. They're not at the expensive end. They're like, you can get them. You used to be able to get them for $700-800, and yeah, that's it. Warren D. Martini's type guitars.
And Quentin is asking, "Guitar Hack, does Gene use / prefer in ears or moving air?"
I definitely like to move air. The thing I like about playing out is playing loud and feeling it in my knees. The amps down there. With that said, the way we do band rehearsal with my brother-in-law, and everything, we have a full in-ear system. Everything's mic'd, everything gets recorded, live practices. So it's kind of
Uh,
neat, but
yeah, you know what? I rehearsed with the guy. Had literally a studio in his house, like a studio, and it was the same thing. Everybody had, I don't know. I
Yeah,
I actually we were going there to rehearse, once a week for a long time. I actually talked them out of or talked them into, let's go to rehearsal space because I was sick of this shit. I wanted to play through a friggin'
that,
stack.
that's how I am too. I don't like the all the dialing everything in and having everything jammed here. I did want to mention another thing that for my YouTube channel is I want to start doing like reviews and stuff. A great guy that I met on Facebook. His name's George Schmidt. No relation, spelled the same though. He sent me a Floyd Rose like stone tone black, and I want to do one of those high speed videos where I disassemble everything, put it together, and do a tone test before for sustain.
Cool.
And so that's something. It's a lot of work, and that's why it's still an envelope because I know it's going to take me 12 hours to do that.
Mitch is asking if if you do any scalper frets.
So I got this Yngwie Malmsteen guitar. It's in pieces. I was telling Hack about it earlier. I bought a different body for it. I couldn't stand the shape of the other body. It was just a little round, but it's scalloped. And it was a $200 Chinese guitar. And that's the thing. It's like I wasn't going to spend $1,500 on an Yngwie guitar and go, oh, I hate it,
Yeah,
So like kind of dipping your toes in the water. And I actually really do like it. I just wouldn't do it to my Charvels because.
Oh shit, no.
Yeah. Some people do though.
You know what? I picked up an Yngwie model Strat in a store, and it was heavily scalped. It just felt so weird, because your fingers aren't touching anything. You're just pressing down on the metal, right?
It took a little getting used to, and then I went as far as putting 8-gauge strings on it. I used 9 to 42 on everything.
Yeah, me
but
too.
They use 8-gauge, and you can bend those, right off the fretboard.
That's crazy. All right, we're coming up to the hour, so folks, if you want to help support the Hack channel, I have links below. I have a link to Gene's channel, so check that out. I also have links to Guitar Hack merch like hats, T-shirts, hoodies, mugs. All that stuff would help the channel. There's also a PayPal down there as well. That would be much appreciated, as well as links to my Facebook group. There's a Guitar Hack group. There's a Guitar Hack Facebook page. There's an Instagram down there, and there's an email down there. So if you would like to support the channel or get a hold of me or participate in any of these groups, all that stuff is down there, and that would all be very much appreciated. If anyone has any last-minute questions for Gene, just throw a couple of question marks in front of it, and I will catch that. Next week's show, I will have Lawrence Petros will be on. Lawrence Petros, we all know Lawrence. He's an amazing pedal builder. I look down on my board, and I have 3 of his pedals on my board right here, right now. So he just did a relaunch, rebranding of his pedals, and he's put out some different ones. So that's all coming up. He will be discussing all that next week. Yes. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions. Oh, here's a question for Pelican J. What's the difference between mean and cool on the guitar?
I'm lost.
I don't know. I'm not sure what mean and cool. Not sure, man. Can you elaborate on that? I don't know. Okay. All right. Okay. So any last things you want to mention? Anything you want to promote, Gene?
Yeah, definitely Buffalo Rock City. I missed this hardcore when we did the Van Halen show. If I know a lot of you have purchased, and it's greatly appreciated. It's going towards a good cause. I do want to mention later this month at Kiss This show, we're giving one of those giant checks. We actually have the giant check to the Compass House, so we have a sizable donation from the proceeds from the CD. So everyone really appreciates it, and if anybody hasn't checked it out, really appreciate if you take a listen and make a purchase for the cause at BuffaloRockCity.bandcamp.com. It's those inversions. And there's also, again, anybody who collects vinyl, we're putting out limited vinyl for the record. So it's a must have. It's got great artwork, and it's a keeper. So I appreciate it. And I do appreciate everybody who came on today very much.
Just,
And yeah,
I just typed Buffalo Rock City into the chat. If you just Buffalo Rock City tribute CD that Gene was involved with, as well as Buffalo Rock City, who's in the chat, which is John Jeffrey. It was a CD they put together for charity for the homeless youth in Western New York. It is amazing. I have it. There is a ton of celebrities on it, not to mention Gene and John also perform on it. So it is very good. If you are a Kiss fan, it is one of the best tribute CDs out there. Just sonically and performance wise, it's really good. So check that out, Buffalo Rock City. Yeah. Alrighty. Okay. So I want to thank everybody for Gene. Hang on a second. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You guys rock. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Please hit that like button, and we will catch you all next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Also, I may be going live Saturday night at 10 p.m. But keep an eye out. You'll see the event if I decide to do so. If I don't, I will catch you all next week. So, cheers, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you soon.
thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.